if one of the kids walked in right now and said, "Oh, I need a purple shirt for Thursday and an orange one for Friday,"
right?
I might need to look because that might be true.
Yeah,
what they need.
Right.
We'll make that adjustment so quick.
Yeah.
Without thought, without fault. But what happens? What you say, God is telling you to plan and prepare. Have you started?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Christyn Show. Today we have a special guest, Aliata Dawkins. I'm so excited. I call her my friend, and past that I call her my sister because we're past friendship. Like, we encourage each other, on top of each other, motivate each other, make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do. So I asked her to come on today because I wanted to share some of your experience, because it's a lot of women that have gone through some things or are trying to overcome some stuff that you have overcome.
Yeah.
And you inspire me in your greatness, and I'm always looking to learn how to be greater in my own field and what I do. So I'm thinking that you can help them with your story, not your full story, but the story of the questions that I have for you today about things that you have gone through. So you told me that you had, you didn't have a lot of material wealth, and what experiences in your life inspired you to seek greater success?
Well, I grew up very poor, right? I think I shared a picture of where I grew up. So most people be surprised. I'm originally from South Carolina. Would be surprised when I say I grew up poor. I always knew we didn't have.
Yeah.
Right? So a little bit about what inspired me to want more is, even though we didn't have in some aspects of our life, we had family members around us, which is why community is so big for me. Yeah. Who invested in us in time. Like when my parents didn't go to church, they took us to church. Yeah. My great grandmother was a significant part of my upbringing, and so she made holiday times, which is why Thanksgiving is like one of my favorite holidays. So we didn't have a lot of financial things, and that was very apparent because Saturday mornings, like, we were very aware that my mother's check came through the mail. And depending on whether the mail ran or not, was synonymous to whether we got groceries. Yeah. I remember the government trees. I remember the Kaboom cereal. I remember, even at an early age, I think the shame of being in the grocery store and having to pull out those coupons. They have a card now, but it was coupons. So everybody knew, and having to get, I remember one time the cashier at the register was like, "Oh, your stamps only allow a certain cereal or a certain milk," and then she would send one of us to go back and exchange what we had. Oh, wow. And so I think those things really resonated with me about not having enough. And then I was always an opportunity of, well, how do I continue so that won't be my history, or my history don't relive itself in my future. And so from a very early age, it was like extended family who would come to really provide supplemental aid to us at times. I don't know if they knew it or maybe they did know it, but I can remember times where my aunt would bring over soup and cornbread. I can remember times where my other aunt would be like, "Oh, if you wrap these gifts, I'll pay you some money," during the holidays. And so while it cultivated like a richness for family, I also knew what it was not to have. Yeah. And I knew that that's not something I wanted when I grew up. And so I needed to figure out how to do that. Yeah. And so it was probably one of my cousins who kind of just showed me a pathway, like education is the key. But from where I grew up, there were racial divides.
Oh.
I remember driving my great grandmother around and going into the drugstore and having to say, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
To white people, or her coaching me in the car, like, don't look them directly in the face. Always say this. They would call her Miss Mamie, but I couldn't call them by their first name or anything like that. So there was a lot of, I would say, conditioning around what I was not supposed to do and what I couldn't be as a black person.
Do you think the change of location helped with that? Because I think, like, even with some of the stuff that you're saying, I always thought the South was just polite.
Oh.
So it wasn't just, I never looked at it as, okay, it was the racist part. You just kind of blew my mind with it. I don't know if anybody else, but it was like, I just thought it was just the politeness. Y'all was just so sweet, so kind. Y'all just cared about others more than this area, to me, in DMV.
Yeah.
So that's...
I do think that the Southern, if you meet a Southern person, I don't know one mean Southern person, right, to be honest.
Right.
But it was the subtleness of racism that we grew up with from the area that I was from. And you understood within those confinements of your environment what you could or could not be according to them. Yeah. I didn't want labels put on me. My cousins would say you were different from the beginning. And so I would distinctly remember in high school, I was at the top of my class, but I distinctly remember my guidance counselor telling me that my family didn't have enough money, so I should look at the technical school. Wow. Now, the technical school, ain't nothing wrong with the technical school, she never offered me anything else. Right. So I could have accepted that, but I decided not to. Yeah. So something within, I would like to say it was me, but I really know it's not. Yeah. I really know that it's like the Spirit of God for the calling that He had on my life that I recognized now was so early in my youth that just kind of kept me pushing to propel, to do more, be more. And for me to do that, I needed to leave where I was.
Yeah. So so I know you went to college and you decided to leave South Carolina. Yeah. And chose to come here in the DMV, right? So what made you decide here?
Well, my grandmother is from this area, right? Okay. So she's from Washington, D.C. Okay. And so part of her visits was coming to South Carolina and kind of going back and forth. So I remember in my childhood, we may have had one or two opportunities to come here, but I distinctly remember we would rent a van. I would be in the back seat, and I remember as soon as we would cross that Virginia line, something in me would just be like agitated, but agitated to the point of tears. I couldn't explain what it was, but I remember driving through and loving the architecture between Virginia and especially when we got in DC, and I was just like, oh wow, I wonder what it would be like to live here. Now I didn't know I would end up here. Yeah. But just that exposure, that little bit of exposure in a car on a trip for the weekend is kind of what sparked it for me. Subsequent to that, I met my husband. He was already here out of college. And so when we got married, we moved to Virginia. And so part of my life plan being here was to ensure that I was in the area so that I could be close to see my grandmother. And at times I would pick jobs because she was getting older to just checking in with her. But this area offered so many more opportunities than there were for me based on the way I was brought up than the South did. So that is really what pushed me to like stay in this area.
So what just clicked was, because it's a conversation that we're going to lead into, is just giving experiences.
The experience.
And I watch you time and time again. You give your not only your kids and your family experience, you also make sure that you involve others like us, and making sure that even if it's just in the area and stuff like that. So, because ever since I've known you, experience is the thing. For Christmas, it might not be gifts. It's an experience.
Yep.
And I think it's stuff that's lifelong. Like a toy can just go away at any point. It can break the next day. But you decided that, I'm going to give my kids this. And how did you do that? Even when you had a little compared to when you have a more now? What is the difference in the experience, and what did that look like? I know kids when they're younger, it's easier, but as they get older, just being creative, what does that look like?
I think for me growing up, we didn't have a lot, but I do remember instances where we as a family would go to the flea market. Right? I still love going to the flea market today. My husband will drive past it real quick. And I think I just wanted to bring that experience of being around a lot of people in the community. And I kept looking at when we would kind of use our last to get our kids gifts. And, James, one time I remember, I think I had saved money because we didn't have, right? I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. Made that decision. I'm grateful he gave me that capacity and would offer it to me today if I wanted it. But I was trying to get tangible things, and he went out and got a Maya, this little twirly thing, the little ribbon on a stick from the dollar store, and it was $1. She played with that gift until it broke. And I think that really kind of transitioned to, like, as the kids started to get older, I recognized that some of the toys they didn't even touch, they didn't even play with. And so I really started to transition, and it was really my best friend who was like, what about experiences? And so that really connected with me from my childhood. And so we just started to really, really shift, and we're very upfront about it. We might do 2 gifts, but this is what we're going to work towards. Right. And so when we were young, I mean, we took our kids to Jamaica. I think Maya was like 12 months old, maybe. She hated Cookie Monster, so she was in that little toddler stage. We just saved and we sacrificed. We didn't have, but we made a decision that experiences and those memories lasted way longer than any toy could, and they will still talk about that experience of being in Jamaica and swinging on a tree today.
What does the save and sacrifice look like? Because I could say, like, today I'm going to say, I want to save for this, but then something comes up. Or I'm going to sacrifice this, but then something. And when I mean something come up, it's not just buying a shirt or something, but something maybe with the kids, or they want to go somewhere, or something they just need for school. How do you make sure that you just say, nope, this is just for this? I need to, because if I didn't have it, then I would have had to figure it out another way. How does that look?
Well, I think sometimes we look at the whole rob Peter to pay Paul thing, and the way we have our life set up, we think bills, tithes, then everything else comes afterward, and then we leave ourselves off the list. And so I remember us coming together and really kind of talking about, what does it mean? I don't want to get to my end of my life and don't have anything to show for it, except that I work.
That's true.
And so we really looked at it. It is here's your tithe, then it's us, then it's bills, and then it's the other thing. But you still hit those kind of hard moments where you have to make the choice. So literally when it was things where, and usually I was the one who had to push it, I think this is a good experience for our children, our family. We set that money aside. I took whatever the final bill was going to be. And usually these plans happen in a year. They don't happen in 6 months. They don't happen in 30 days. So I just took that cost and broke it out across, months, and even at times pay period. So when instances like things happen, the washing machine broke. We had that a couple times, or the oven go out. We had that a couple times. Those are real life experiences that happen. And you might not have an emergency fund. So when you do it like that, you know those nuances are going to come. So I just kind of extended it past what that deadline should have been. Okay. I kind of try to build in time, like we know something is going to happen.
Right.
Or we also take a real inventory of, okay, this is the year where things are probably going to break. Yeah. Let's be preemptive about that.
Somebody used to tell me, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. And most times, you know, it is really preparing for the worst.
Even though hoping. I hate that saying, but that's what people live on. I hate that saying. And I talked about it in a previous episode. Like, I don't want to prepare for the worst, but it makes sense. But
it does. I'm just like, you never know. Yeah. God is a keeper. You know, we've gone through times where we didn't have. We've gone through times where I couldn't work.
Right.
Because of medical reasons and things like that. But God has been faithful and he's a keeper. Really, he's coming off the top. Then we're pouring into us, and that includes like saving for retirement.
Yeah.
That includes saving for education. Yeah. And then I'm going to pay the bills. Now, I'm not going to risk some things, but if I have to switch Pepco and WSSC to water, then we might have to do a little, you know, to kind of look Russian roulette a little bit to see which one we get for. And that's just the reality of where we live. I can't imagine, like today, like things cost so much, but I saw my parents do it.
Yeah.
Right? So whereas some parts of my upbringing I initially saw as negative, they prepared me for times when, you know, things were a little bit leaner than what they needed for.
Yeah.
And so my kids probably never knew. We're very transparent about when we have it and when we don't. But I can take potatoes and grits and make a whole meal.
Yeah.
Right? So those hard times in my childhood really taught me how to make something out of what people perceive as nothing.
Yeah.
And you gotta have that whatever you have, God can use.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's good. She said, whatever you have, God can use. Yep. So you kind of skimmed past this thing, but I wanted to bring it up a little bit. I wanted to know, I know that you had a couple setbacks, but one of them was, we just left Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and one of them was overcoming a survivor of breast cancer. And
actually thyroid cancer.
Oh, thyroid. Oh, it wasn't breast cancer. Oh, look at me.
Had a breast cancer scare down.
Oh, okay. But with the thyroid cancer, you overcoming it. Was that something that pushed you more to make sure that you're making these experiences with your kids and your family? Was that part of like enhancing those moments where you already were having it? Yes, life from the younger age, but then moving on to this space, not knowing, what that looked like. And, God is good. Like, we prayed that, we survive all of these things. Everybody don't.
Yeah.
But you did.
Yeah.
Because he has a purpose for you.
And I'm glad he does.
Yeah.
I didn't always know that.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't always know that. And I don't share this often, but as a child, I knew God's hand was on me as a child. But I automatically thought in my life that I'll be gone at 35. Not sure why, but people will tell you that I used to say it. Thank you, God, for redeeming the time and covering my words then, because I'm well past that now. But at 31, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Maya, my youngest daughter, was 9 months old when that came in, maybe a little over a year. And as we come up to this part of the year, I remember not knowing what it was to the extent of what it is, the time frame. Because when people get diagnosed with cancer, right, that's only one stage of it. There is significant amount of testing that goes through to figure out like the stage and the classification of it and things like that. I just didn't know. So I'm dealing with exhaustion, and we're trying to prep for the holidays, and we come up, and I look at it every year. where for experiences, instead of buying ornaments, we actually made ornaments out of the dollar store where I got the kids and we painted them. And it was the little wooden ones you hang on a tree. And I wrote notes to them on the back because I just didn't know what it was. Because I had seen cancer. One of the things about living in the South is death is a part of your culture and your environment. And so you know what it is, and you know because people just don't say, well, people want to know what happened. Yeah. So I knew that. So walking through 2008, 2009, and then the follow-ups, and even a few years ago, having to go back and get ultrasounds, and then it was just last year, the breast cancer thing, which unfortunately runs in my external family. It can be hard, but yes, it did turn me towards really valuing building a community for my family outside of myself. Yeah. Because we won't always be here. Yeah. But the people I connect them to, you guys, will always be a part of their life. Yeah. And so that's really, really important for me. And that's why we value time and connection. And we really made it a decided decision a couple of years ago. Okay, we're going to stop doing these really gifts, and we're going to put most of our energy into like those experiences. Yeah. Because I want our families, my children, to have memories to look back on and say, hey, my mom did that for me. Yeah. You know, they sacrificed. And so that journey, that time, really taught me to trust people. Yeah. It taught me to be transparent. It taught me to recognize that I don't have to have it all. Yeah. But then God still provides.
He just does.
And I don't have, and my thing lately is, what if I just believe? What if I believe for that thing I won't say? Right?
That's how I'm trying to live.
Right?
It's hard though.
It's
hard. It's not hard to believe. It's the part where the wait. And then in my mind, I start saying, how am I waiting?
But do you trust him?
I trust him.
Right? Have you seen him? Has he already had a path for you?
I just don't want to complain through it.
Yep.
I don't want to be sad through it. I don't want to look. I don't want to look like I don't believe. Even though I know I believe, but I just want to just be like, while I'm waiting and while I'm believing, that I'm still doing what he's called me to do the best way I can.
Well, we just have to be honest, right? I believe, but help my unbelief. And so I wake up every day. I wake up every day. I renew my mind and I ask God, what if I just believe? Right? He done already wrote this. Yeah. I just got to get up every day and walk it. Right? Let me know if I need to make a left or a right, Lord, but I'm just going to believe for this today. Yeah. Right? If I was delayed coming and I needed to take my daughter to school, guess what? It was already written in the plan. Yeah. So why am I going to get upset about it? There's so much time that we do spend in woulda, coulda, shouldas. And I'm just making it a concerted effort to be present. Yeah. Right? There's one of the greatest books, and my cousin showed it to me, and I almost give it to every child once they get of a certain age. I get them the book. It's The Lesson of the Three Trees, right? And there's another book called The Precious Present, because we spend so much time trying to heal from our past, and the other time is we're worried about our future, that the enemy has robbed us of these precious moments, right? So that's why I value being here in this moment and being able to express to other women that you have the capacity to do what it is you would like to do. You may not be able to do it all up front, but if you write that plan, make it plain, he that finds it will run with it. God will follow that thing. God, the word is clear. He honors a man's plan. Yeah. I think where we get lost is we don't make the plan. right? We don't write it down. Therefore, we don't have a record. And then I just ask God to call a reminder. One of the other things that we do big as a family, we get together and we write out goals. We write out goals, we plan for the year, and then we come back at the end and was like, oh, let me see your list. What did God do? Right? What did God do? How did you grow? So,
we usually do that on Thanksgiving. Yep. That's so good.
He's good. He's good. I think we were talking about yesterday that where I am is, I feel like I'm a miracle. I am a miracle. I'm miraculous. God has given me that capacity. You know, you're talking about someone who went to school. Your guidance counselor didn't want to help you get to school. And yet, I've been able to matriculate. I have my bachelor's, I have my master's. I'm working on my doctoral degree, right? I sacrificed time being at home with my kids, and then God redeemed it.
But where did you start? Being where? At home with your kids.
At home with my kids.
And that's, I'm just saying, because some people, I'm only saying that because there's some people that are home now. And trying to figure out, okay, I'm home. What about me? When am I going to start growing into what I thought I should be doing? But sometimes your journey starts with being at home. Because for different reasons. To me right now mine is to help my kids grow into who they're supposed to be, meaning helping them with education. Just directing them. COVID just, the big part of it where they were home, they missed a lot of stuff. I feel like I left education. I got it in me. I can show them what they need and what they're missing. It's not easy.
Nope.
But that's why I said you already gone through those things, so I could look back, or they could look and hear what you're saying about how that's where you started.
Yeah. If that's where God is calling you to be, and it works for your family, He will redeem everything you desire to do for yourself. And it'll be just like that. Right? I always used to be worried about, well, I'm leaving the field. How do I get back in it? And when I got back in it, I went straight to management.
That's
in 7 months.
That's a comeback. Like, it's not, okay, I'm going to just put you right here.
I mean, it because your gifts only get stronger. And I think part of the time is that even though if you're dedicating time to yourself at home, to your children, to your family at home, you don't really have to forget about yourself. Because if you continue to make your plan and write down and tweak it, well, this is what I do, because your kids are transition. Right? And I think where I see a lot of people right now is, the transition is coming, but you don't plan for it. Right? So one day your hands have to be off a little more so that they can kind of test what you taught them or what we've taught them. And so you plan for those transitions. I remember even thinking before, I knew I heard God said it was time to go to school. It was time to go back. And I was like, oh, we can't do that. Everybody is doing things. I have 2 kids in college. I have a 5th grader who's younger, and then I have a junior in high school, but they were in middle school and in elementary and in transition, and I'm like, I can't do all of this. But God was like, they're transitioning. What you gonna do with that time? And I was telling James that I remember sitting there one day and everybody was doing their own thing, and I was just looking at how much time I had in the middle of the day. Sure, it's not gonna always be there, but what was I doing? So I started thinking about it. I planted the seed. I think God came along and watered it. He made opportunity, but we can still give into ourselves even though we're giving to our families, because we know our time will come. But you gotta be wise and take it too. Right? So I think if I can offer one recommendations is that I tell people this: Christmas comes the same time every year.
It does.
Do you plan for it? Some people do, some people don't.
I plan for decor.
You plan for the decor.
I plan the day after Christmas for decor. But go ahead.
Me too, because I hit those sales.
Right.
But think about it. Our kids we know when they transition.
Yeah.
You know, if I use the analogy of being in a car, you know when a curve is coming.
Yeah.
Either the sign is going to tell you or the road is changing.
Yeah.
And what do? You adjust.
Yeah.
Right? You transition. And so if we can bring more attention to adjusting, then I think that, you know, because I remember being at home. I remember feeling lonely and what am I going to do, and not having an outlet. But I also wasn't paying attention to the adjustment. Yeah. And so that's my one piece of advice, is that you can adjust, and wherever your heart is, if you put that thing before God, He will redeem that time for you, and it'll be just like you were back where you were.
I'm sitting here I'm waiting for redemption. I'm ready. But I know that is one. I do listen to God. Like when He say this time is for this. But you just kind of clarified some things for me. It's like start preparing. And you kind of showed me what that looks like. And that's why I wanted you to come and not just to motivate, you know, just me, but it's other people out there that, when does the transition come? What does that look like? And how do I know when it's time to move? And you kind of cleared it up for me, because I heard God said it's time to go back to school, but He told me when. So I'm looking like, are you sure I got time? Do I have am I going to be able to do this again? Like, time is changing in school. Is this something that, and He said, it's going to be your time, because I'm going to tell you that it's your time. So just listening and being obedient to that.
That's the biggest part, is being obedient. Think about how many adjustments as women, right? Just talking about women. I know men, I can't speak to that. That's a whole nother weight. Yeah. But as women, look at the different roles we play on a daily basis. Yeah. And if something comes in, if one of the kids walked in right now and said, oh, I need a purple shirt for Thursday and an orange one for Friday. Right. I might need to look, because that might be true. Yeah. What they need. Right. We'll make that adjustment so quick, without thought, without fault. But what happens? What you say, God is telling you to plan and prepare. Have you started? Right? We cannot pour from an empty fountain. Yeah. And what I find is that a lot of us, I do therapy with women as well, we are pouring and we're at the end of our well. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And God is saying, well, come back so I can fill you, so that you can pour. But this time, be sure that the portions are spread. Yeah.
So what my preparation for me is, that's different from when I did start school, was being confident. And I felt I'm a lot more mature, but the confidence part was being able to, even some of those classes where you got to stand in front of people, I'd be like, I'm not doing that, you know. But God has brought me so far in that space. Like, I'm walking like, if they think something, that's what they got to think. I still got to go do it. Like, I used to tell God, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I've had some of those times.
He knows my name with the nose. Like, he'd be like, oh, really?
He'd be like, Jessica?
No. But I've come up, because he was like, I need you to do this because it's preparing you for this. And if you can't get past this, then you're going to stay here until I know that you're ready. And it's just like, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to move from here. I don't want to be here no more.
I'll give you a real life example of why it's so important to move when He says. Yeah. And I'm prayerful that He'll bring it back. I remember in 2018, God telling me to start an app called EMO, short for emotions. A short spurt, dial in, quick support, whatever. 2018, I remember during the summer, but didn't put the effort into looking at how to do it. I distinctly remember, year and a half later, we're in the pandemic. Yeah. What's the biggest growing field right now that people...
And they have a dial-in health.
A dial-in app.
That he wanted for you.
He wanted for me.
But if you didn't go, he was going to give it to somebody else. That don't mean that you can't still do it the way you want. But it's like God said, I need you. I get the
I was pouring my resources into my family. Mm-hmm. Right? Even though I heard him, even though the encouragement there, I didn't set aside the time to investigate what I know I heard.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of, one person walk up, oh, I need this. Made the adjustment. Oh, I need this. I made the adjustment. And he's like, I told you this. You didn't make the adjustment. You didn't make the adjustment. And so,
do we not make an adjustment sometimes when God says it? Because I think sometimes if the person is tangibly standing here and saying, I need this, our kids, and then he says it, I feel like we don't adjust like we need to all the time. Sometimes we do. But some of the times when it just seemed a little bit harder, like even coming, like today, I had to adjust my mind to say, because I was going to cancel. This. I just got hit. I just got back last night. And I was like, when you said, do you want to, in my mind, yes. But then God said, you're running. Stop running. And I was like, even to the morning, I told Patrick, hand me my phone, let me see if she canceled.
Really?
Yes, because I have to reprogram my mind to say, this is what you're supposed to do. And I said, because the fight was so strong, I was like, I got to do it because it's that strong.
Yeah.
Because it's pushing me so hard, I got to go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
Because it's something that you said today that's going to help somebody. It already helped me. It blessed me so much. Like, I'm about to go sit down and figure out some stuff after this whole thing.
Because we're in a season of preparation.
Yeah.
Right? And in the Bible, or just not in Bible, in life, women are always, we have the capacity to nurture. We grow things.
Yeah.
We touch something and we can change its impact. I do believe that this season is really meant for us to really take a concerted effort and look at what is God calling us to.
Yeah.
What is he saying? And then for us to make the adjustments, put in the time, and then say, what if I believe?
Yeah.
What if I believe for that hard thing? I do believe.
Yeah.
God, show me how to do it. Or bring the people around me. Sometimes I think why we don't, because it looks like another task.
Yeah.
We're already tired, right? But we never think to ask him, do you want me to lead this or you want me to delegate?
Yeah.
Because leading and delegation is two different things, right? I can lead something, but then assign people to help me along the way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's
how
I'm
going to do that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But I'm trying to incorporate that more in my life because it's also teaching other people things. I'm trying to incorporate where, my kids know that it's an all-in support.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What I gave to you, you're responsible for giving to your sibling, and it should go down to the youngest one. And we just situate ourselves like that to be where we are and to just champion each other to move. I find it interesting now that me and my older two kids, we'll share our grades.
Yeah.
And my son is like, woohoo, Mom, you got it. And that is literally like what he's doing. Keep going. Yeah. We're encouraging each other. Who knew that would be there?
Yeah.
And sometimes they remind me of, you remember when I had this? And then I didn't want to do it, but you got it. But that's the level of the investment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there used to be a time where I thought I should have went forward, but now I no longer have any regret. I know that my life is already planned. So God, show me how to walk this path.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's true. It's already written out.
It's already written, and he can do it. It's about making the adjustments. It's about planning, whether we're talking about a holiday experience for the family, or I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Each part of it requires a plan.
Yeah.
I'm just here, and hopefully that somebody who's listening can be encouraged, particularly women, particularly women of color, can be encouraged that same investment you giving out, you're worthy of.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to start it, because if you allow other people to set the measuring stick,
Yeah.
When you don't meet it or they don't meet it, you feel disappointed.
Yeah.
But if I set it for myself, right, then everybody around me will recognize that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've created an environment. I didn't come from anything.
Yeah.
Right? But now I got a little bit of something, not a lot, a little bit of something. And so even in times here, we still have to, we're paying for 2 kids in college.
Yeah.
But I set some time aside for me.
Yeah.
If this is what I want to do, I make them tuition payments.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the spot all day.
I've always said, when I get paid, I have to, after I pay my tithes, I have to get me something. Because you work so hard, you got to be able to have that strength to go back to that work. I mean, of course you love, especially for the people that love what they do, that's good. But then it's like some that don't love what they do, but they need to have the strength. I love what I do. I still want to get myself something to say. I put the work in. Why not? Why can't I?
Well, you're validating your experience and your existence, right? And that's why I think it's critically important that we, as women, we often look to our spouses or our partners or our friends to get that validation from of who we are. I think in this season where we in, God is like, I need you to validate you. Right? I need you to be your own biggest champion.
Yeah.
Because where I'm taking to you next, you're going to need to know how to do that.
So I'm going to ask you to get, if you can encourage, if it's just one person, just what, like the next, like what that's, like encourage them of how it's going to, how they can still move when they don't have a lot. And encourage them that it's time for them to worry about them too.
That's good.
Give them some encouragement. If you could give them one thing or anything that you could think of to encourage them to move forward.
Okay.
And whatever their greatness is.
Yeah.
If they have a little, if they have a lot, if they stressed, if they don't know what's going on, they don't know what's next. Any encouragement that you could give.
Whenever we think that we have a little, God lets us know that we have a lot. But sometimes that doesn't resonate within. I believe we're in a season where God, in your effort to commit to yourself, He'll honor your heart's desires towards other things. You just have to trust Him. It does. If we're waiting to have it all lined up, if you're waiting to have it all lined up and it be perfect, take it for somebody who everything had to be, every T crossed, every I dotted, right?
Yeah.
But my best work, and people often tell me this, I'm great in a crisis.
That's me too. Give me last minute. But I hate it. It drives me crazy, but
I'm great in a crisis. Think about if I'm so great in a crisis, how much better I can be if I plan it, but not looking for the perfection in it, looking for the progress. Right? So I encourage those who are listening and who can glean anything about my childhood and how I grew up poor and how God has just favored us. And favored me as an individual, that I'm not looking for perfection anymore. I'm seeking progress. And part of that progress is including myself in it. I cannot give what I don't have. And so now my focus, while I'm still, coordinating the kids, checking on them, checking on my husband, my focus is pouring into me. Right? So I have this thing where I call at night 15 minutes with me. Doesn't matter what I do, I gotta give myself 15 minutes.
Wow.
Doesn't matter if I'm crying, I'm screaming, I'm reading the word, I'm praying, I'm meditating, I'm stretching. 15 minutes of me. I do believe in this next season, the investment in yourself is gonna add dividends, not only to your life, to what you desire to do, but to your family and to your community at large.
That's good. So we're going to end it there. I don't have nothing to say after that. I love you guys.
I love you.
Thank you for coming. See you in the next one, guys. Bye, guys. Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you got anything from it, please share it with someone you think it will bless. And make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to the Christyn Show right here on YouTube. You can download the audio-only version by subscribing to the show on most major podcast platforms. Also, make sure you check out our links in the comments below for more ways to engage with me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Christyn Show.